Good morning and welcome back. Time now is 6:29 and we continue to follow developments in Ukraine. Russia's war on Ukraine devastating more cities. Hundreds of thousands are fleeing the violence. Officials have been unable to come up with an agreement, but saying that talks will continue. For more on this, I'm joined by CNN's Atika Shubert, live for us in Lviv for us today. Atika, we spoke yesterday in advance of these talks, or as the talks were going on, I should say. 5 hours and no major resolution. That's not necessarily a surprise. I want to get your take on the sides leaving the table and agreeing to come back. What does that mean?
Well, the fact that both sides are still willing to meet is a good sign. I think it shows a need, they are recognizing a need by both Russia and Ukraine that there has to be a diplomatic way out of the crisis. The problem is they haven't found any middle ground yet. Ukraine says it has two conditions. It wants to see an immediate ceasefire and an immediate withdrawal of all Russian troops from all Ukrainian territory, including Crimea and those disputed eastern regions of the Donbass. Now, on Russia's side, they say they want Ukraine to recognize Crimea and those eastern regions as Russian, or at least as independent in those eastern regions. So you can see that there's still a long way to go before they can reach any agreement there. The other thing that Russia says it wants is for Ukraine not to join NATO and for it to, quote, demilitarize. Now, those are two things that Ukraine is not likely to agree to anytime soon, certainly not while it's still under attack. But the fact that they have agreed to continue talking is a good sign. In the meantime, however, there's a lot of concern that now we may see an uptick in the fighting on the ground. We have already seen this huge convoy of Russian troops and armored vehicles making their way to Kiev, and there's still sustained attacks into the eastern Ukraine city of Kharkiv. And those are the situations we're watching very closely today.
The Ukrainian President Zelensky saying the protection of the country's capital is the key priority for the state. Should the capital see some major trouble here, what does this mean for the remainder of Ukraine?
Yes, this is a big question, and everyone wants to know what happens if the capital is taken. What happens if they take, for example, the president? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been in the capital this whole time. We're actually hoping to hear a live address from him soon, but he's been putting out these defiant Facebook messages rallying the country, but keep saying that the capital has survived, is still standing. But now it is facing this huge 40-mile convoy of Russian troops and armored vehicles seem to be directly aimed at the capital. It's an overwhelming show of force, and it's not clear that how long the Ukrainian military can continue to hold the city. Lviv, where I'm at now, is currently the safest part of the country, and there has been talk about evacuating the Ukrainian president to Lviv. He's been offered that by both the British and the American governments. However, he has rebuffed both of those offers, saying that he needs to stay in the capital and he needs to continue to fight.
With developments of troops from Belarus joining Russia, how significant is this in the developments today?
It could be very significant. I mean, Belarus has already played a very significant role in the offensive. It's where so many of those missiles have been launched from. It's allowed tens of thousands of Russian troops to gather on its border with Ukraine. But, seeing Belarus now add its troops as well could add a new dimension to this. I think the critical point here is that Russian forces, according to a U.S. defense official speaking with CNN, about 75% of the Russian troops deployed for this offensive are already in play or in Ukraine. And so there may be a need to add more offensive capability on the Russian side, and this may be why you're seeing that. The other concern is that, consider that the western part of the country so far has not had any fighting in it, has not had any Russian troops here. We have seen missile strikes on military airfields in this area, but we haven't seen any troops actually entering here. With Belarusian troops now possibly joining, you could start to see some of that entering from the north, and that's very concerning.
Okay, that's Atika Shubert joining us live in Lviv. Atika, thank you so much. Be well, be safe. Appreciate it.